What's going on, everybody? It's D-Rock, and I am back with an updated version of every X-Men Omnibus released so far in reading order. We have 30 X-Men Omnibus here. So many Omnibus, you can't even fit them all into frame. We got a lot to go through, so let's get into it. First up, we have the X-Men Omnibus Volume 1 by Stan Lee, Roy Thomas, Werner Roth, Jack Kirby, and this is the Alex Ross Standard Edition cover here. This copy here is the most recent printing and has a 770 page count and a $100 cover price. Now this collects X-Men 1963 number 1 through 31. For some readers, this material may seem very outdated because, well, it is. This omnibus collects the original X-Men series along with various other related stories and appearances. These early issues were written by Stan Lee with artwork primarily by Jack Kirby. The omnibus edition often features restored and remastered work as well. Now, in terms of context, the X-Men series introduced readers to a group of young mutants who were trained to use their unique powers for the benefit of humanity. Led by the bald man in the chair, Professor Charles Xavier, the X-Men faced various challenges and fought against a range of adversaries, including Magneto, one of my personal favorites, and his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. This series explored themes of prejudice, discrimination, and the struggle for acceptance, making it a significant milestone in the superhero genre. This X-Men Omnibus is great if you're interested in diving into the early adventures of the X-Men and witnessing the origin of this beloved superhero team. The X-Men Omnibus Volume 1 is a great starting point, and it offers a comprehensive collection of the early issues, allowing readers to experience the beginnings of one of Marvel's most enduring franchises. Now, to be completely transparent, this is probably one of my least favorite omnibus in the collection, but it is kind of nice to have all of these early issues collected in omnibus format, so you can crack this thing open from time to time and just take a look at the origin of the X-Men, check out some of the first appearances of classic characters from this team, and man, it's just a great start to this list here of X-Men Omnis. Next up on the list, we have the X-Men Omnibus Volume 2 by Roy Thomas, Neil Adams, John Cassaday. This is the standard edition cover here, and this is one of the first printings of this book. That's why it has that kind of silver metallic looking text on the omnibus itself and those marble looking pages. Now, this book has a 904 page count and a $99.99 cover price, and it collects X-Men 1963, 32 through 66, Avengers 1963, 53, Khazar 1970, 2 through 3, Marvel Tales 1964, number 30, and material from Not Brand Ek, number 4 and number 8. Now, this is going to be similar to the first volume before. It dives deeper into the origins of these characters. I love that cover there, Along Came a Spider-Man. But it also explores, the same themes of discrimination, identity, teamwork, and ongoing struggle for peaceful coexistence between mutants and humans. So you're going to get a lot of that substance throughout this book here. The writing is definitely outdated throughout this book, and it's hard to get through from front to back. At the time, this was definitely a failing book, and the X-Men was on its way to just being canceled completely. But soon after these issues were released, a man known as Chris Claremont would come on and start writing for X-Men and really just take it to the next level, which happens to be the next omnibus on the list. Next up on the list, we have Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 by Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, John Byrne, and this is the standard edition cover here with artwork from Gil Kane. This is one of the original printings, so it still has that larger font print on it, which I'm a fan of, and it has those marble pages as well. I'm not a fan of the newer printings that have the small text on the spine. It's super unfortunate, man. I wish they would go back to the old ways that they were printed. This does have a table of contents, and it'll start out with Giant Size X-Men number 1. Now, getting into the size and the cost and what this book collects, so we have an 848 page count on this and a $100 cover price. This collects Giant Size X-Men number 1, along with X-Men 94 through 131 and X-Men Annual number 3. Now, this is the new team, man, so this is where the X-Men really started to pick up. You have new characters in here. You have the introduction of Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, and actually the introduction of Krakoa, the living island itself, is introduced in this volume here. Now, in terms of storytelling, readers can expect a mix of thrilling action, character development, interpersonal dynamics, and exploration of social themes. The X-Men have always been known for tackling issues of prejudice, discrimination, and the struggle for acceptance, and this volume provides a unique perspective on societal challenges. Now, these issues collected in this omnibus were a fantastic start to Chris Claremont's run on the X-Men, and honestly, it just only gets better from here, as now we move on to Volume 2 of the Uncanny X-Men. And on to Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 2 by Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and this is the DM variant cover here with artwork from John Byrne. You have to love that classic cover with Cyclops and Jean Grey. This contains all of the Dark Phoenix saga, pretty much, which is just fantastic. It's probably one of the most infamous X-Men storylines throughout the history. I mean, they've had so many storylines. I mean, it's one that just keeps on getting brought back, and you can't get enough of the Dark Phoenix saga, man. It's fantastic. So this has an 890 page count and a $100 cover price. It collects X-Men 132 through 141, Annual 4 through 5, the Uncanny X-Men 142 through 153, Avengers Annual number 10, Marvel Fanfare 1 through 4, Marvel Treasury Edition 26 through 27, Marvel Team Up 100, Bizarre Adventures number 27, Phoenix The Untold Story number 1. So like I said, you get all of the Dark Phoenix saga included in this omnibus here. You also get Days of the Future Past as well, which is another classic X-Men story. Those two story arcs included in this volume actually were made into two feature-length X-Men films too. So I mean, really great storytelling throughout this. This is probably my favorite Uncanny X-Men volume out of the 4 volumes released so far. Just great stories throughout it, and the next omnibus actually does fill in some of the gaps in these stories as well. So let's move on to the next omnibus. And now we have the X-Men Classic Omnibus by Chris Claremont and Nicetti John Bolton, and this is the standard edition cover here with artwork from Arthur Adams. Love this wraparound cover here, man. The artwork looks really fantastic on this. The spine looks great. This is just a really sleek looking nice book with these blue bookend pages in here. So this does have a 1,040 page count and a $125 cover price, and this collects classic X-Men 1 through 44, plus material from Marvel Fanfare number 60. Now this book here, you wouldn't just pick up and just read if you had no prior knowledge of the X-Men or hadn't read the previous Uncanny X-Men material. This is really just a kind of like a book of tie-ins to help, flesh out these characters and these stories a little bit more that were collected previously. Definitely a book that's unnecessary for your average X-Men fan, and this was printed a while ago, and I kind of doubt that they're going to give this book a reprint anytime in the future, so it's probably fairly expensive right now. So if you're not like a super die-hard X-Men fan and you want to go dive deeper into these storylines and flesh them out a little bit more, then this book really probably isn't for you. Just stick to like the Uncanny X-Men volumes, just the 1 through 4, and we're getting in volume 5 soon, so stick to those volumes, and it's probably a pass on this omnibus, honestly. Next up, we have X-Men The Dark Phoenix Saga Omnibus by Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and this is the standard edition cover here with artwork from John Byrne. Love the wraparound cover on this omnibus, the Phoenix there in all of its glory. So this has a 660 page count and a $100 cover price. This collects X-Men 97 through 105, 107 through 108, 125 through 138, Phoenix The Untold Story number 1, material from classic X-Men 6, 8, 13, 18, 24, 43, Bizarre Adventures 27, and What If issue number 27. They did recently reprint this material in a newer omnibus called the Phoenix Omnibus Volume 1, as they're going to have a Volume 2 come out eventually, but this is all of the same exact material that's included in that Omnibus Volume 1. The Dark Phoenix Saga explores the character of Jean Grey, who becomes the immensely powerful and unstable Phoenix. Now, as the Phoenix powers grow, she is corrupted and ultimately transforms into the malevolent Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix Saga is highly regarded for its intricate storytelling, character development, and emotional depth. It delves into themes of power, temptation, sacrifice, and redemption, and it's such a fantastic X-Men story, and if you're looking to just read only the Dark Phoenix material, this omnibus is perfect for that. And next up, we have Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 3 by Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and this is the DM variant cover here with artwork from Paul Smith. Now, this is one of the older printings, so it still has that large text on it, fortunately. Now, this has a 1,056 page count and a $125 cover price. This collects Uncanny X-Men 154 through 175, X-Men Annual 6 through 7, Marvel Graphic Novel number 5, Wolverine 1 through 4, Special Edition X-Men number 1, and Magic 1 through 4. What's great about each one of these Uncanny X-Men Omnibus volumes is they have like such a substantial story arc contained in each of them, and this one is no different. I love that Kitty Pryde cover and that Wolverine cover, man. This omnibus contains the God Loves Man Kills storyline, which is just such a heavy heavy X-Men storyline here. God Loves Man Kills stands out for its powerful and thought-provoking narrative. It highlights the importance of tolerance, understanding, and the fight against discrimination. The story's relevance has endured over the years, making it a timeless classic in the X-Men canon, and it's one of my personal favorite X-Men stories. Next up is the Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 4 by Chris Claremont, Al Mingram, and this is the DM variant cover with artwork from the amazing John Romita Jr. on there. This is one of the older books, so it's going to have the larger text on the spine and such. We are getting a Volume 5 very soon, which unfortunately will have that smaller text. Man, I love that artwork of Juggernaut and Colossus just going at it, man. Badass right there. So this has an 848 page count and a $125 cover price. This collects Uncanny X-Men 176 through 193, X-Men Annual number 8, Kitty Pryde and Wolverine 1 through 6, X-Men and Alpha Flight number 1 through 2, and material from Marvel Fanfare number 40. This is probably my least favorite out of all of these Uncanny X-Men volumes, but you do get the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine little miniseries collected in here, which is definitely a cool little read. Alrighty, and here we have one of the more darker events in X-Men history, X-Men Mutant Massacre Omnibus by Chris Claremont, Louis Simonson, and this is the standard edition cover here with artwork from John Romita Jr. Love this battle of Sabretooth and Wolverine on the wraparound cover here. This is one of the older printings as well. I think there is a DM variant cover now, and they might have changed this cover actually. I don't think they have this one anymore. This has a 952 page count and a $100 cover price. It collects Uncanny X-Men 210 through 219, X-Men Annual number 11, X-Factor 9 through 17, and Annual 2, New Mutants 46, Thor 373 through 374, and 377 through 378, Power Pack 27, Daredevil 238, Fantastic Four vs. the X-Men 1 through 4, and X-Men vs. the Avengers 1 through 4. Now, the Mutant Massacre storyline is a major crossover event that happened in Marvel Comics. It involved multiple X-Men comic book titles and showcased a brutal attack on mutants by a group of villainous assassins known as the Marauders. Gotta love the Marauders, man. The story had significant repercussions for many mutants and helped shape the X-Men universe for years to come, really. This omnibus features some seriously memorable moments, some really major character developments, and an emotional impact. Next up, we have X-Men The Fall of the Mutants Omnibus by Louis Simonson, and this is the DM variant cover here with artwork from Brett Blevins. What's cool about this book, which they have been doing sometimes with some of these reprints, is they have both covers on the actual book itself, which is kind of cool. So you get a little taste of, both of the covers of these omnibus on the actual book itself. So this has an 824 page count and a $100 cover price. It collects New Mutants 55 through 61, Uncanny X-Men 220 through 227, X-Factor 18 through 26, Captain America 339, Daredevil 252, Fantastic Four 312, Incredible Hulk 336 through 337, and 340. That's that great cover you get with Wolverine and the Hulk on the front of this book here, and Power Pack number 35. The Fall of the Mutants highlights the exploration of the moral dilemmas faced by the X-Men and their allies. The Mutant Registration Act and the massacre of the Morlocks added layers of complexity to the narrative, raising questions about discrimination, societal norms, and the price of standing up for what's right. This is definitely a great book here. Moving along, we have the X-Men Inferno Prologue Omnibus by Louis Simonson, Walter Simonson, and this is the DM variant cover with artwork from Arthur Adams. This again is one of those books here that has the DM variant and the standard edition on the book itself, which is always pretty cool, man. So this has an 824 page count and a $100 cover price. This collects X-Factor 27 through 32, and Annual number 3, Uncanny X-Men 228 through 238, New Mutants 62 through 70, and Annual number 4, X-Men Annual number 12, and material from Marvel Age Annual number 4, and Marvel Fanfare number 40. Love that cover there. The Brood is just such a cool looking monster creature mutant thing, man. That as well. Great covers throughout this book. So this prologue really is just setting up the X-Men Inferno event. So if you wanted to read the prior material that helped to lead up to the X-Men Inferno event, you'd want to pick up the X-Men Inferno prologue just to kind of get up to date with what's going on with everything going on with Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen. So this is definitely a cool omnibus to have. And following the prologue, we have the X-Men Inferno Omnibus by Louis Simonson, and this is the DM variant cover here by Walter Simonson. Had to go with the DM variant with Mr. Sinister on it, and I love the design of this book, man. Love the fire on it. There's fire throughout the actual book itself. You have Madeline Pryor there, the Goblin Queen with the baby. This is a dark story, man. Super fun. One of my favorite X-Men events. Now, this book has 1,240 pages, a $125 cover price. It collects X Factor 33 through 40, Exterminators 1 through 4, Uncanny X-Men 239 through 243, New Mutants 71 through 73, Power Pack number 40 and 42 through 44, Avengers 298 through 300, Fantastic Four 322 through 324, Amazing Spider-Man 311 through 313, Spectacular Spider-Man 146 through 148, Web of Spider-Man 47 through 48, Daredevil 262 through 263, and 265. Excalibur 6 through 7, Mutant Misadventures of Cloak and Dagger number 4, and material from X Factor Annual number 4. The Inferno event has a very dark and atmospheric tone, and it features significant developments and transformations for many characters, including Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor, and Ilyana Rasputin. Next up, we have one of my personal favorite X-Men omnibus, the X-Men Grand Design Omnibus by Ed Piskor. Absolutely love the design of this book. You have the ape on the cover, kind of turning into the mutant Cyclops there with the optic blast. The paper stock in this book is crazy good, super thick, and it has this aged look to it, which I feel is very appropriate since this is basically telling about 30 years of X-Men history from the start to about early 90s. Very cool book, man. Great for new readers. This has a 488 page count and a $100 cover price, and it collects X-Men Grand Design 1 through 2, X-Men Grand Design Second Genesis 1 through 2, and X-Men Grand Design Extinction 1 through 2. Ed Piskor took an absolutely unique approach to storytelling by laying out decades of X-Men comics into a cohesive narrative. Ed Piskor reimagines and connects key moments from the X-Men's history, creating a comprehensive and accessible reading experience for both longtime fans and newcomers to the X-Men series. One of my favorites, and I think the artwork in this book is just absolutely amazing. This book reprints giant-size X-Men and some other classic issues on this great-looking aged paper, and it just looks phenomenal, man. You gotta check out this omnibus. Next up, we have X-Men Omnibus Volume 1 by Chris Claremont, Mark Silvestri, and this is the standard edition cover here with artwork from Jim Lee. Get a nice cover gallery on the back here. Love the look of this book, man. Unfortunately, the material inside is kind of lacking for me. This has a 681 page count and a $125 cover price. It collects Uncanny X-Men 244 through 269, X-Men Annual number 13, and Classic X-Men number 39. So I said before, Jim Lee is on this book. As you can see here, like the artwork throughout this book is just top notch. It's really good. Absolutely incredible stuff, as you'd expect from Jim Lee. It's just the writing and the way that the story arcs happen throughout this book. They're just not that entertaining, and this book as a whole is just very boring. It's a hard one to get through, but luckily with Volume 2, it kicks it up a notch, and you get some really great storytelling in that book. Next up, we have X-Men Omnibus Volume 2 by Chris Claremont, Will Spartasio. This is the standard edition cover here with artwork from Jim Lee. That really classic looking cover, man, with Psylocke and Jubilee, Gambit, Wolverine, Cyclops, Beast on the cover, man. Some of my favorite X-Men characters. This was a huge upgrade from the first volume. The first volume I thought was very dull, but this volume is great, man, and it has some really classic stories throughout it. It's got the 90s X-Men run, the most sold issues, man, the connecting covers, all that fantastic stuff from the 90s. This is really like my childhood in a book right here. So this has a 744 page count and a $125 cover price. It collects X Factor 63 through 70, Uncanny X-Men 273 through 280, X-Men 1 through 9, material from 10 through 8, and Ghost Rider 26 through 27. So like I said, this is just 90s nostalgia at its finest. As you can see right there, the beautiful artwork from Jim Lee. This has like the posters collected in the back of the book that pull out as well. Just absolutely phenomenal stuff. Huge fan of this. The amazing Rogue, come on, man. It's got some trading cards in the back. This is just a great book, man. This is definitely one that I think every X-Men fan must have in their collection. And here we have the recently released X-Men, the animated series, the Adaptations Omnibus by Ralph Macchio, Andrew Wildman, and this is the DM variant cover from Carrie Gimmel here. Love the design of this book too, man. X-Men with the shiny gold logo on the spine, the X on the cover, the yellow pops so well on this book. Just really phenomenal design throughout this entire omnibus here. Now, this has a 1,008 page count and a $125 cover price. This collects X-Men Adventures 1 through 15, X-Men Adventures 1 through 13, and X-Men Adventures 1 through 13. So, basically what the X-Men Adventures were issues that adapted episodes from the X-Men animated series, but just into comic book form. So you're going to get like the Morph storyline throughout here. Omega Red is in here. Apocalypse and the Archangel storyline. You get the Senator Kelly stuff with like Master Molds. You get the Dark Phoenix saga in here. You get some time traveling with Cable and Bishop. Just a bunch of the classic episodes from X-Men the animated series, but just in comic book form, man. And the artwork is really, really good throughout this entire thing. And it's cool to just revisit these classic episodes from the X-Men, but just in comic book form. Next up, X-Men The Age of Apocalypse Omnibus by Scott Lobdell, Mark Waid, and this is the standard edition cover here by Billy Tan. This is the original printing. There's been since newer printings. That's why it, again, has that kind of metallic text on the cover of the book and on the spine, which I'm a big fan of that style. This has a 1,072 page count and a $125 cover price. It collects Uncanny X-Men 302 through 321, X-Men 40 through 41, Cable 20, X-Men Alpha number 1, Amazing X-Men 1 through 4, Astonishing X-Men 1 through 4, Factor X 1 through 4, Gambit and the Externals 1 through 4, Generation Next 1 through 4, Weapon X 1 through 4, Excalibur 1 through 4, X-Man 1 through 4, X-Men Omega 1, Age of Apocalypse, The Chosen, X-Men Ashcan number 2. This book here just reeks of the 90s, man, by the artwork and the storytelling. It's just like big events, crazy artwork, and it just has that style throughout it, which I'm a huge fan of. This book here collects the entire Age of Apocalypse crossover event from the X-Men comics. The storyline, which took place in 1995, and it presents an alternate reality where Professor Charles Xavier's son, Legion, he goes back in time and kills Magneto instead of Xavier. This act alters the course of history, resulting in a world where Apocalypse rises to power and mutants and humans are in the constant state of war. It's a great event, man, and following this, you actually get a companion omnibus that helps kind of flesh out this story a little bit more. As I said before, here is the X-Men The Age of Apocalypse Companion Omnibus by Howard Mackey, Scott Lobdell, Terry Dodson, and this is the standard edition cover with artwork from Adam Kubert on here. Great looking wraparound cover on this omnibus. Was a big fan of this style of artwork in this series. This has a 992 page count and a $99.99 cover price. This omnibus collects X-Men Chronicles 1 through 2, Tales from the Age of Apocalypse 1 through 2, X-Men number 1 and 53 through 54, Blink 1 through 4, X-Universe 1 through 2, Exiles 60 through 61, X-Men Age of Apocalypse 1 through 6, and one-shot What If number 77 and 81, and What If X-Men Age of Apocalypse, plus material from Hulk Broken Worlds number 2, X-Men Annual 96, Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe Age of Apocalypse 2005, and Age of Apocalypse subplot pages. This is a fun read, man, and like I said, it just kind of fleshes out the Age of Apocalypse storyline. Next up on the list, X-Men Avengers Onslaught Omnibus by Chris Claremont, and this is the standard edition cover with artwork from Alan Davis. This is one of the older printing of the books here. Great, beautiful wraparound cover on this book, man, and this is a thick, big ass omnibus, man. This has a 1,296 page count and a $125 cover price. This collects Cable 32 through 36, Uncanny X-Men 333 through 337, X-Force 55 and 57 through 58, X-Men 15 through 19, X-Men 53 through 57, and Annual 96, X-Men Unlimited number 11, Onslaught, X-Men Marvel Universe, and Epilogue, Avengers 401 through 402, Fantastic Four 415, Incredible Hulk 444 through 445, Wolverine 104 through 105, X-Factor 125 through 126, Amazing Spider-Man 415, Green Goblin number 12, Spider-Man 72, Iron Man 332, Punisher number 11, Thor 502, X-Men Road to Onslaught, and material from Excalibur 100, and Fantastic Four number 416, man. So much material collected in this omnibus, and this is one of those just big, ridiculous X-Men events. It's kind of cheesy, but in the best way possible, and it's definitely a must-read for any X-Men fan. They did have a reprinting on this, so this is now available, I'm pretty sure, but I love this book, man. It's a great, fun story. Next up on the list, X-Men vs. Apocalypse, the 12 Omnibus by Alan Davis, Terry Kavanagh, Jim Chang, and this is the standard edition cover with artwork from Adam Kubert on it, and they have this beautiful wraparound cover on this book, which is crazy vibrant colors, this blue bookend pages, super underrated story in my opinion. This book has a 1,272 page count and a $125 cover price. It collects Uncanny X-Men 371 through 380, and Annual 99, X-Men 91 through 93, 94, 95 through 99, and Annual 99, X-Men Unlimited 24 and 25 through 26, Gambit 8 through 9, Astonishing X-Men 1 through 3, Wolverine 145 through 149, Cable 71 through 78, X-Man 59 through 60, X-51 number 8, X-Force 101, and X-Men 1999 yearbook. This omnibus revolves around the resurrection of the ancient mutant known as Apocalypse and his quest to obtain the powers of 12 specific mutants whom he believes will help him achieve godhood. Can't go wrong with an Apocalypse storyline, man. He's one of my favorite villains of all time, and this is a great omnibus, honestly. From a great omnibus to a bad one, X-Men Revolution Omnibus by Chris Claremont, Louis Simonson, Lionel Francis Yu, Adam Kubert, and Arthur Adams. Now, don't get me wrong, the artwork in this series is absolutely phenomenal. It looks great. It's got that like early 2000s feel to it, super detailed, cartoony. I like it a lot, but the story itself just isn't very good. Chris Claremont wasn't writing X-Men for a while, and this was his supposed to be glorious return to the series, and it's just not very good in my opinion. It's a boring book, and it's just kind of all over the place. Not a fan of this omnibus at all. This has a 904 page count and a $100 cover price. This omnibus collects X-Men 100 through 109, Annual 2000, Uncanny X-Men 381 through 389, X-Men Unlimited 27 through 29, X-Men Black Sun 1 through 5, Bishop the Last X-Man 15 through 16, and Cable 87. This one's a bummer for sure. You know, I expected the Chris Claremont return to the series to be something real spectacular, but this just really fell short, and it wasn't very entertaining. Besides the good artwork, it fell flat for me, and this is going to be one that kind of just sits on the shelf for sure. Next up on the list, we have X-Treme X-Men Omnibus Volume 1 by Chris Claremont, and this is the DM variant cover here with artwork from Salvador La Roca. Love the wraparound cover on this with the X logos there and the bright red. You got those X-Men characters popping out, man. Bright red bookend pages. Do like the artwork quite a bit in this book, but the story altogether I'm not really too crazy about. X-Treme X-Men has an 888 page count and a $100 cover price. This collects Uncanny X-Men 389, X-Men 109, X-Treme X-Men 1 through 24, and Annual 2001, X-Treme X-Men Savage Land 1 through 4, X-Treme X-Men Expose 1 through 2, and material from X-Men Unlimited number 36. The premise of X-Treme X-Men revolved around a group of X-Men led by Storm who traveled around various dimensions trying to locate these diaries. Now, each dimension they visited had its own version of Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, as well as different versions of familiar characters. The team's main goal was to prevent the diaries from falling into the hands of those who could exploit their prophetic knowledges. For me, I was definitely not a fan of this, and I know this series gets a lot of mixed reviews. Next up, a fantastic X-Men Omnibus, Ultimate X-Men Omnibus by Mark Millar, and this is the standard edition cover here with artwork from Adam Kubert. Got a little cover gallery on the back here, a wraparound cover, great looking cover here. This book has a 1,024 page count and a $125 cover price. It collects Ultimate X-Men 1 through 33 and Half and Ultimate War 1 through 4. Now, the Ultimate X-Men series aimed to provide a modern and fresh take on the X-Men characters and their stories, reimagining their origins and updating their adventures for a new generation of readers. Ultimate X-Men existed within a separate continuity known as the Ultimate Universe, kind of like Ultimate Spider-Man or the Ultimates, and it allowed for the creative freedom and reinterpretations of these iconic characters from the X-Men. The series introduced readers to a younger and more contemporary X-Men team, consisting of familiar characters such as Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Beast, Iceman, Rogue, and others. It explored their origins, relationships, and struggles as they learn to control their powers and protect a world that fears and hates them. Getting tired of the old X-Men? Why don't you try the new X-Men Omnibus by Grant Morrison? This is a standard edition cover here with artwork from Frank Whiteley. This has a 1,051 page count and a $125 cover price. It collects new X-Men 114 through 154 and Annual 2001. Now, Morrison's approach to the X-Men in the new X-Men was marked by a fresh and innovative take on the mutant superhero team. He introduced bold ideas, revamped character dynamics, and pushed the boundaries of the X-Men mythos. In this series, Morrison introduced new costume designs for the X-Men, reflecting a more contemporary and edgy aesthetic. He also focused on evolving the characters' relationships, introducing complex dynamics, and exploring their personal struggles a little bit more. Morrison also delved into the concept of mutant identity, emphasizing the diversity and unique qualities of mutants. He introduced the idea that mutations could manifest in various ways beyond physical change. It's a great series. I think this is one of my favorite reads, and it also just leads into literally one of my favorite reads of all time, the next omnibus on the list. Next up, we have my favorite X-Men omnibus. This is the Astonishing X-Men Omnibus by Joss Whedon. This is the standard edition cover with artwork from John Cassaday on it. Love the wraparound cover on this. This book has some very absolutely gorgeous artwork throughout it, man. This has a 672 page count and a $100 cover price. One thing that I love about this book is it gives you a brief history of the X-Men right from the jump. So this is one that people ask me all the time, what do you recommend for new readers to X-Men? And this is my go-to just because the story is so good. And it also just gives you a brief history of the background of the X-Men. So that's a huge plus for me. And this story is just absolutely phenomenal. Whatever your thoughts may be on Joss Whedon or not, I don't care. I love the story, man. So this collects Astonishing X-Men 2004 1-24 and Giant Size Astonishing X-Men number 1. What's great about Whedon's run is that it focuses on core X-Men themes such as the mutant-human conflict, personal relationships, and the struggle for acceptance. He brings these themes to the forefront while also delivering engaging and action-packed stories, man. And the artwork from John Cassaday and Laura Martin on the colors, man, is just top-notch. This artwork is beautiful. Next up, we have Wolverine and the X-Men Omnibus by Jason Aaron, one of my favorite writers, man. You gotta check out that Thor run. It's incredible. This is the standard edition cover here with artwork from Chris Bachalo. You have Krakoa the Living Island on here and Wolverine looking dope, man. This has a 936 page count and a $125 cover price. This collects Wolverine and the X-Men 1-35, 38-42, and annual number 1. Now, this series takes a unique approach by focusing on Wolverine as, believe it or not, the role as the headmaster of the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. Now, it's also known as the Jean Grey School, a school specifically designed to educate and train young mutants. Now, in this omnibus, Jason Aaron infuses the series with a sense of humor and a lighter tone compared to some of the older, darker, and more serious X-Men storylines. The series embraces a more lighthearted and fun approach, delivering moments of comedy and levity. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definitely some dark parts throughout this omnibus as well. The series features a large cast of characters, both classic and new, allowing for in-depth exploration of their personalities and relationships. This is a fun series, man. It's definitely not for everybody. I think the artwork throughout this is absolutely phenomenal. I love the new Hellfire Club that's in this, and it's just an all-around fun read, man. It's something that kind of it's a lighter tone X-Men book. Did somebody say no more mutants? Next up is the House of M omnibus by Brian Michael Bendis, Olivier Coipel, and this is the DM variant cover here with artwork from the incredible Asad Ribic. This has a 1,368 page count and a $125 cover price. Get ready for this one because it collects a bunch. House of M 1-8, Spider-Man House of M 1-5, Fantastic Four House of M 1-3, Iron Man House of M 1-3, New Thunderbolts 11, Black Panther number 7, Uncanny X-Men 462-465, Wolverine 33-35, Captain America number 10, Pulse number 10, Cable and Deadpool number 17, Incredible Hulk 83-87, New X-Men 16-19, Exiles 69-71, Mutopia X 1-5, Decimation House of M the Day After, Giant Size Miss Marvel number 1, Secrets of the House of M, Pulse House of M Special, House of M number 1, Director's Cut, House of M Sketchbook, and material from Hulk Broken Worlds issue number 1. In this House of M omnibus, the story centers around a reality-altering event that occurs when Scarlet Witch, one of the most powerful mutants in the Marvel Universe, suffers a mental breakdown, kind of similar to that of WandaVision. As a result, she reshapes reality, creating a new world where mutants are the dominant species and humans are the persecuted minority. Next up on the list, we have Avengers vs. X-Men Omnibus by Brian Michael Bendis. You have artwork from John Romita Jr., and this is the DM variant cover here with artwork from Jim Chang. So this has a 1,680 page count and a $150 cover price. This, I think, may still be the largest omnibus made so far. I'm not sure about that. But this book is huge, man, and it collects a ton of material. So this collects Avengers vs. X-Men 0 through 12, AVX verse 1 through 6, Avengers vs. X-Men Infinite number 1, 6, and 10, Avengers Academy 29 through 33, Secret Avengers 26 through 28, Avengers 25 through 30, New Avengers 24 through 30, X-Men Legacy 266 through 270, Wolverine and the X-Men 9 through 16, and 18, AVX Consequences 1 through 5, Uncanny X-Men 11 through 20, A-Babies vs. X-Babies number 1, and material from Point 1. Avengers vs. X-Men is an action-packed and high-stakes event that brings together the Avengers and the X-Men in an epic conflict. The story revolves around the return of the Phoenix Force, a cosmic entity with immense power, and the subsequent battle over its potential to save or destroy the world. The event examines their contrasting approaches to the use of power and their respective motivations. This clash of philosophies adds depth to the conflict and creates compelling character dynamics throughout the story. And this is just a big badass brawl, man. You can't go wrong with this book. Getting close to the end, man. This is the X-Men Legacy Legion Omnibus by Simon Spurrier. You have artwork from Mike Del Mundo, and this is the standard edition cover here. This book has a 528 page count and a $75 cover price. It collects X-Men Legacy issues 1 through 24. Now, X-Men Legacy Legion stands out as a unique and thought-provoking exploration of mental health and identity within the X-Men franchise. The series takes a deep dive into the mind of Legion, delving into the complexities and struggles associated with his multiple personalities and their unique powers. Simon Spurrier brings a nuanced and empathetic approach to Legion's character, exploring his internal struggles, personal growth, and attempts to find his place in the world. Legion's journey is compelling and emotionally charged, and readers are taken on a psychological exploration of his mind and the challenges he faces. This is definitely a very cool book, man. It's very different from most X-Men material, and I really enjoy this series, and it's a fun, quick read as well. And last but not least on the list, we have X-Men by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus. Now, this is the standard edition cover here with artwork from Lionel Francis Yu. This has a 704 page count and a $75 cover price. It collects X-Men 1 through 11 and 16 through 21, giant-size X-Men Jean Grey and Emma Frost, Nightcrawler, Magneto, Phantom X, and Storm, and material from Incoming number 1. Now, Jonathan Hickman's run on the X-Men franchise has brought a fresh and innovative approach to the mutant superhero team. Hickman's X-Men saga is marked by its grand scope, intricate world building, and meticulous plotting. He introduces bold concepts and redefines the mutant landscape, pushing the X-Men into uncharted territory. Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run is epic, with intricately plotted stories that challenge the status quo. It provides a bold and refreshing take on the X-Men, exploring complex themes and reshaping the mutant landscape. Hickman's run has revitalized the franchise and has left a lasting impact on the X-Men mythos. We've come a long way since 1963, and I look forward to future X-Men stories. Alrighty, and there you have it. Every X-Men Omnibus released so far in reading order. So many books here. 30 X-Men Omnibus. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Let me know what your favorite X-Men Omnibus is. If you're looking to pick up some books, I get all my books from organicpricebooks.com. It's the best place to get your Omnibus and other collected editions. Super fast shipping, bulletproof packaging, and amazing customer service. Use promo code DROCK, it'll save yourself $2. And now you can use promo code DROCK, ship it together to get 5% off a purchase of 3 or more books. So like I said, drop in the comments, let me know what your favorite X-Men Omnibus is, and of course, as always, thank you for watching.